look at what are the city priorities. Just because we can afford more police officers doesn't mean we should hire more police officers. I mean, there's other projects. I know planning and zoning would like to have a person. I know the streets are, beat up from a tough winter. We'd all like to, asphalt some more streets, and we have sidewalk plans. So I think as we look at the resources we have to decide as a council and the administration how we're going to allocate those resources. And some of those may be police officers. I don't know how many, and maybe some firefighters. But I think there's other needs to the city too, and we need to prioritize those.
Yeah. Are we in agreement that we put a session together with the chief, Dr. Grant, council members, and try and move forward? Okay.
And then hopefully you can get us some companies that we could look at contacting and get a price on moving forward at some point.
What I would do, I think, again, as part of the importance of this process, is I will contact someone from SPI and have them assist, see if they will assist. Because if I have a hand in that, I don't think that's the right way to go with this. I think it needs, again, to be outside, but I will assist in getting that connection going.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Good deal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Amy Deering, an ordinance for additional appropriations. And it's a public hearing. We'll open.
No,
Oh, it's
sir,
not?
not till the next time.
Oh, to be held on 21st. My bad.
It's okay. First and second.
Yes, just 2 items tonight on this additional request. I had sent out an email last week. Hopefully you all had a chance to look at that. We're asking for $130,330 in the general fire pension line item and $426,794 in the LOIT for the half of the new fire engine.
Motion to approve 2014 OR 30
Second.
on the first and second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion
Excuse
carries.
me. Oh, the public hearing will be the 21st. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Okay.
Amy Deering, an ordinance transferring certain funds within the same department.
Yes, these are all items that were in the budget for the year. We just had a couple of requests from Parks to move some money around, and the cum cap items are for the engineering part-time people.
That we passed last meeting.
Correct.
Motion to approve on the first and second.
31.
31.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you.
All right, Les, an ordinance changing the zoning map designation of certain tract property known as Falls Landing and fully described in Exhibit A.
This is basically the 10th and Spring Street project, the Gateway project. As you're aware, the Redevelopment Commission went through an RFP process, selected a developer to develop that property. There is a development agreement in place, but a contingent upon that agreement is that the property be zoned. Right now there are, I think, 17 or 19 different parcels of property there that are zoned anywhere from neighborhood commercial to residential to commercial. And it was felt that if we are going to combine that into one project, legally we have to have it zoned as one parcel and combine it. And we feel that the most appropriate classification would be highway commercial. The proposed development is commercial, and it's next to a highway, so highway commercial seemed appropriate. Redevelopment is not the petitioner. The petitioner is actually the developer, White Reach Development, who has a development agreement with Department of Redevelopment and Redevelopment Commission. And John Kraft is the attorney for White Reach, and I'll turn the matter over to him because I'm sure he wants to preserve the record.
Thank you. For the record, my name is John Kraft. I'm with the law firm of Young, Lind, Anderson Kraft, 126 West Spring Street in New Albany. As Mr. Merkley indicated, this matter was before the Plan Commission at the May meeting, May 27th of 2014. Plan Commission, of course, had 3 options. That is, sending it to you with a favorable recommendation, an unfavorable recommendation or no recommendation. It comes to you with a 5-4 vote with a favorable recommendation to pass the rezoning. As Mr. Merkley also touched on, the request is to take all of this consolidation of these properties and take it to highway commercial. Highway commercial specifically is, as also Mr. Merkley indicated, is for property that is next to a highway that has a commercial activity that locates around an interchange. And certainly this will be locating around an interchange coming in off of the 10th Street exit. And as a result of that, in many municipalities, this might be proposed as a planned unit development district. Your ordinance in the alternative, though, does not prescribe a specific planned use development district for a mixed use. Under your planned unit development district, it would require a planned unit development district with an underlying zoning as to what it would then be zoned. Also as indicated, if we take it in as that, then you have a hodgepodge of a planned unit development district with those underlying zoning districts. Your considerations are those same considerations that the Plan Commission had, and those are statutory in nature, and those are 5 considerations. They are found at, for purposes of the record, 3674603, and those would be how this falls in line with the comprehensive plan, the current use and conditions and characteristics of the structures and uses in that area, the most desirable use in the area, conservation of property values, as well as responsible development and growth. When we look at this, as indicated, this is carrying out the terms of a written agreement, which is a purchase agreement, also referred to as a development agreement between White Reach Development, which is actually W.R. Falls Landing LLC, and the City of Jeffersonville through its redevelopment department. Under the terms of that agreement, it specifically prescribes what the developer is to do on that property, what those uses are likewise to be, and ultimately what the minimum investment of this group is to be on that real estate. The minimum investment for the development of this property is $24 million. So it's throwing that development into the City of Jeffersonville. One of the things, of course, that comes to you as a unique characteristic of this rezoning request is the City of Jeffersonville, through its redevelopment commission, is a party in the sense that it currently owns the real estate. And statutorily, it, of course, has an obligation as to what it carries out with respect to its duties, its responsibilities as to real estate it owns. With respect to that, part of that tends to be that entering into agreements that best serves the community from the standpoint of both human and economic welfare. And when we look at the agreement and the terms of that agreement, it prescribes specifically that this agreement, if you will be covenants that run with the land. And under the terms of that agreement, it specifically prescribes that the developer, in this instance again, W.R. Falls Landing LLC, is to develop and construct the improvements for the following uses. And those uses specifically set out in that written agreement between the redevelopment department and the developer would be to construct one full-service sit-down restaurant, which is part of a national chain. The examples used within the terms of that agreement are Cracker Barrel, Zaxby's, etc. Likewise, under the terms of 4.1 of that agreement, it also requires the developer to develop 3 fast food restaurants, which are part of a nationally recognized chain. Once again, the examples that are used within that would be McDonald's, Taco Bell, again, etc. comes into being. Likewise, one of the other requirements within the terms of this request would be to develop 1 or more hotels operated under a nationally recognized hotel flag. The examples used would be Drury Inn and Suites, Marriott Residence Inns, as well as etc. Again, I will tell you that the commitment at this point in time is not from either one of those, but a very well-known nationally recognized chain that has a commitment to build that 250 hotel room structure within this development. And then the last item contained within that is to bring all of this together in one development by virtue of interconnected pedestrian walkways. These, again, are covenants that run with the land, so it's not as if they enter into this agreement, you obtain the rezoning or grant the rezoning request before you, that those uses can change, because under the terms of that written agreement, covenants that run with the land will run not only to this developer, but with future developer, and it allows the developer to carry out the terms of that development agreement, something that it relied upon when it entered into the project as to what it desired to develop. The other item that we set out to the Plan Commission, and I think it is an important part of this, the Highway Commercial District allows also for, as permitted uses as a matter of right, would be auto sales, services, auto body shop repair, all of those types of things that likewise tend to go hand in hand with highway commercial. As presented to the Plan Commission on May 27th, the developer has agreed to take those uses through the form of written commitments within the zoning ordinance that would alleviate the auto services from the plan. Uses that would normally be there as a matter of right, the developer is agreeable to enter into written commitments to take those uses out. And certainly from that standpoint, those would be part of the ordinance as well. Part of the development team, if you will, is Josh Hillman with Jacoby Toombs and Lance. He likewise has a drawing, and you may have this as part of your package, that went to the Plan Commission. It is also part of the development agreement as to the manner in which this development must take hold. Currently, the developer, as well as the redevelopment department, is under a timing piece as it relates to the due diligence and how it moves forward. We, of course, were on the agenda for the June meeting due to some of the issues with respect to the interceptor and the sewer department. I believe those issues, if I'm not mistaken, have been addressed. We're here this evening to ask that this pass, that you ultimately adopt the rezoning ordinance, adopting this property as highway commercial. I'll call on Josh to just very quickly touch on the development itself.
Josh Hillman with Jacoby Toombs and Lands Engineers, 1829 East Spring Street, New Albany, Indiana. And what I'm going to provide or just show are a few of the graphics that we had referenced during the planning and zoning meeting and address any engineering related questions. That's all right, that's fine. Yeah, and I guess it looks like the colors are a little faded out, but what you see here is this is one of the larger existing parcels that was there. This is the existing HC zoned property. The two in purple here are the other tracts of land that are more than 2 tracts of land, like 17 other tracts of land total, but that's what we are proposing for rezoning. This here being 10th Street, this being the I-65 ramp. You've got 9th Street and Indiana Avenue. Other graphics just to kind of give an idea of what's going on with redevelopment. The being washed out, but the areas that you do see here inside the dashed lines are road improvement projects that redevelopment is looking to do in this area, with a signalized intersection right there. Sidewalk, curb and gutter improvements that will go along with the development. As Mr. Kraft referenced, the Interceptor project, that's really washed out as well, but you'll see where it was proposed as a part of the Interceptor project. Redevelopment before transfer of the land is granting easement and right-of-way for the sewer interceptor so that there's no issue later on that the city would have to go and acquire this easement or right-of-way from the developer for any financial amount. So, be glad to address any questions whenever that time arises. Thank you.
What's the number?
Due diligence on 32.
Is this a public
Public
hearing?
hearing or?
Should be. It's a public hearing.
We'll open a public hearing on this. Has anybody come to speak for or against this project? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Make a motion to pass 2014 OR 32.
Second. Any other discussion?
I have some discussion, yeah. If I could, this came to planning and zoning, and as was mentioned, it was a split decision. I think it was 4-3. And some of the concerns, and I was one of those who voted against it, for a unfavorable recommendation. And some of the discussions that we had were the sewers and how that would affect the project. I think some of that has been cleared up. But some of the other issues that came out is this, is this responsible growth? Is this something that we want at that location? Does it make sense? We looked at the traffic flow, because right now we've closed off Indiana Avenue. It's so close to that ramp, and this project utilizes that, opens it back up. And we saw, if we're going to utilize that is just going to back up traffic and cause traffic concerns. And another discussion, and I know this may not be exactly related, but we look at the old plan of what was proposed for the use of this property and now what it is today. I mean, number of restaurants, the type of restaurants, number of hotels, all that has changed. I guess in concept it's still there, but it's all been kind of down. Yeah, it's all been down.
Scaled back.
Yes, scaled back. So as I look, I want that area to be developed. It's me personally. I think it makes sense for us to want to develop it, but to change the zoning, I don't think would be responsible because of the traffic that would be caused as a result of the development that's being proposed today. So with that, I plan on voting no.
Did you say that Indiana Avenue is going to be reopened? Is that at the intersection of 10th and Spring?
Well,
It comes at an angle.
it's that,
It comes into that intersection, though, right?
You know,
That
where
would be
the,
reopened.
By the tire store.
right, and just even the overall number of, when I look at that spot and having all the drive-through restaurants, and what I see is a bunch of people driving through town, pulling off, buying a Happy Meal, getting on the highway, and leaving. And when we first talked about this project, we talked about 2 hotels, people that would stick around for a little while, more sit-down restaurants, people who might actually say, hey, what's going on? I hear there's a River Stage, I hear there's a downtown, it's just a couple blocks up the road. I don't think with this development you get that kind of multiplication of dollars and increasing the economy with some of these projects.
I don't know, and you may know this, Les, what did we sell that property for, do we know?
The agreement was $580,000, the money we had invested.
Scott, have you done your due diligence in looking over the,
Yeah, I looked at it. I guess one question I have,
Would you step up to the mic?
was, as far as the developer, I know White Reach or this LLC, but I know I also saw that somehow this FDA1 LLC, Mike Fulkerson, what is just structure? I was just curious what their relationship is with the developer. Yeah,
Sure.
The development agreement itself is with White Reach. Mr. Fulkerson would be only as it relates to construction issues, but the actual agreement, part of the RFP that was put together initially by the Redevelopment Commission in order to solicit this, primarily set up what these uses would be. And certainly from the standpoint of White Reach, and part of the exhibits to the agreement would be who is White Reach. Steve Reach is with me this evening. He is the 100% member as it relates to the entity that is entering into that. And certainly, that information had to also be provided to the redevelopment commission. One of the items as it relates to traffic for Councilperson Zastani deals with the fact that this is a one-way in only. So it's not as if you're going to be opening that up and there'll be two-way traffic as it relates to that right turn. It's one-way in only. The first entrance from that intersection is 140 feet from that intersection. So ultimately, it's not going to be, as we see it, and as the traffic tends to show, it's not going to be as if it's going to be backing up traffic due to the fact that there will not be any exit coming out of there. It will be solely one way in only, and the first entrance into this project would be 140 feet up. Keep in mind as well that this evening, while it is a request, it's a land use request. Part of what ultimately comes back to the Plan Commission is a development plan as it relates to the project itself. All we're asking for this evening would be just the land use, which would be highway commercial.
Mr. Kraft, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
That Indiana Avenue, and I'm pretty familiar with it, it comes in off of 10th Street.
That's correct.
So when you say 140 feet, where are you?
If I can call on Mr. Hillman again to show you a graphic, I think it'd be beneficial.
It's not very far, I know that.
Well, and the 140 feet is after you make the right turn.
Oh, from the expressway.
I'm talking about 100 after you make that right turn, because the question was as to traffic backing up from those folks coming in. Right. It'll be a one-way in, and then from that intersection, the first entrance will be 140 feet into Indiana Avenue, not coming off, not 10th Street. And again, Josh will be able to better show you that.
Do we, on a project like this, because there's going to be multiple businesses, is there a timeline? I mean, can they build one thing and the property's set? What is the timeline given on a project like this?
It is set out in the development agreement. The development agreement specifically limits it. It sets it out in 2 phases, and if I can, I'll grab it, but Les may know as well as I do. But it sets it out as to the completion of this within a specified period of time. Those, again, being enforceable terms through the redevelopment commission, because that's part of the contract.
Okay. What you'll see here is just a rough scaled measurement, this being 10th Street, this being Indiana Avenue right here, 140 feet from there to the first potential turn-in for the project. And it should be noted that Indiana Avenue has never officially been closed or vacated. The road is still there. It was just barricades put up by a previous administration. We've had discussions with NDOT about the entrance coming into Indiana Avenue. NDOT has verbally committed and agreed that this is an acceptable entrance into Indiana Avenue to remain open for the development.
So where's the exit?
The exit, you are able to turn right onto Indiana Avenue to exit to go towards 9th Street, but you're not able to turn left like you're going back towards the signal at 10th and Spring.
So how congested is that going to be if we have 3?
There's also another exit that's onto 9th Street, crossing over the, crossing onto 9th Street.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No.
Oh, that's...
There's an exit right here as a part of the development. There's an exit right there. So there's multiple exits. If it's a congested exit, the traffic can come down to 9th Street and then go out through the signalized intersection that's going to be here as a part of 9th and Spring.
This is
2 exits? You
For,
said there's multiple, and then you pointed out one over here and one over...
As a part of the zoning request, the engineering construction plans are not complete, and that's something that would be a part of the development plan process and submittal. Right now,
The questions you're asking would be addressed in the development.
right now, there is one shown on 9th Street and one shown on Indiana Avenue.
Les, how does that timeline work? Just, you have a rough,
Phase 1 and Phase 2, I think Phase 1 has to be completed by next September or October, John, I'll have it in front of me.
15?
Yep, and then phase 2 is Pawing Springs. Is that right, John?
I think that is correct, and there is attached to the agreement, so you know what we're referring to as Phase 1 and Phase 2.
Spring. Would that be spring of 16? Okay.
And again, I'm just...
Okay, that's fine. I just, some of these projects, we do all this and then they set.
Josh, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
How does it work if you're coming, I don't know, the south or west on 10th, heading out of town? You're in the left lane.
Like towards the expressway?
Yes, you're in the left lane, you're wanting to go to
Go
fast
west.
food.
Yeah.
And the cars are coming at you. You don't know if they're going to turn on Spring or on Indiana. And you got to go across Spring and hit Indiana. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's a turn signal there that allows the left turn only in each direction, whether you're coming from 65 or towards 65.
Right.
And that left turn would serve the same as it does now. You'd just be able to turn onto Indiana or onto Spring, but those are the only motions that are allowed at that time as a left turn. So it would operate the same without providing any conflict.
Is there going to be a turn
Thank
lane
you.
put on 10th Street? Because that's going to back up traffic on people waiting.
There's an existing turn lane on 10th Street in each
to get
direction.
into Indiana.
It would serve the same as turning left onto Spring or Indiana because there's not going to be oncoming traffic coming back
From
Indiana
There'd be no turn
towards
on it.
10th and Spring.
They would turn on it.
So the turn lanes that are there now would serve the same purpose that they do.
You know, when you look at that entrance onto the highway, a lot of people take 10th Street to go to work, and now you have put 3 fast food restaurants right there in the corner, and people have to make left-hand turns to get to it if you live in the city. So I mean, there's traffic going both ways. I mean, I don't know, I just don't see a benefit. I see a traffic jam, and a lot of, I don't know, I just don't see that there'd be a big benefit with that. Now, I understand that, you know, the original plan had maybe 1 or 2, but now we have 3. You know, we had 2 hotels, we had more people spending time here, there was more sit-down restaurants, more people spending money here. This is also in a TIF district, so even though they make an investment, it's going to go to redevelopment, the property taxes. So really what we will get as a city, until the sunset clause happens, we will get a percentage of the income tax through the county.
And
That's
that-
what we get.
I think you got a valid point, Ed, but I think that's probably a discussion for the development plan. I mean, we can pass the rezoning for the use of the property and come back and say we need to tweak the development plan, you know, to alter how many fast food restaurants are there, if that's what we need to do.
Yeah. That rarely works. We've done that before, and it rarely works.
What do you mean it rarely works? If we don't pass the development plan, they can't develop.
Well, yeah, rarely.
If I may also just, the question was asked on the timeline, and I do have the agreement in front of me, just to touch on that a moment, because I know the question was raised. Construction of the project is to begin 30 days of the closing. Substantially complete that portion of the project designated as Phase 1, which again you see there on the board, in accordance with project plans on or before March 1 of 2015. Substantially complete the portion of the project designated as Phase 2 on the site plan, in accordance with project plans on or before November 1, 2015. So again, that gives you an idea with respect to it. I think the question was asked, are they going to start and then all of a sudden stop? Once again, under the terms of the development agreement, that sets out that
Hey,
schedule.
could you repeat that, please?
I'm
I
sorry.
got March, Phase 1 is March.
March of 2015, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's
Mr.
fine.
Smith, yeah.
I
March
was
1,
writing it down.
2015,
Is for the
And-
completion?
that's correct.
Completion.
Completion.
Okay.
Substantially complete the portion of the project designated as Phase 1 on the site plan as updated under Section 4.2,
Okay.
which again, you go to 4.2 to deal with those time limitations, as well as substantially complete Phase 2 on or before November 1, 2015. And again, that's in accordance with that agreement.
And because substantially is, what does that mean? How much of the project? Is there a percentage in the contract that means substantial? Because that might mean something different to redevelopment as it does to the developer.
No, specifically, I'm just reading to you directly from the agreement. The agreement specifically, the commission is entering into this agreement based upon compliance with the following conditions, and that sets out, construct the project in accordance with the project requirements, which again are those that I indicated to you earlier. Shall begin construction of the project within 30 days of closing, and substantially complete the portion of the project designated as Phase 1, March 1, 2015, Phase 2, November 1, 2015.
Mr. Merkley, as the redevelopment director, what does substantially mean to you?
Essentially, complete would be, it is underwritten, it is trained, it is ready to go.
Does that need to be in the contract? So that there's a meeting of the minds?
I think if I may, I think the contract's been entered into, and of course, these were the elements specifically set out in the contract that my client relied upon entering into the contract, and understanding that there are reversionary rights that are contained within the deed. So again, looking at the reversionary rights and the legal rights that are...
This is a very, and this is not just an agreement that my office drafted. We brought in probably the best law firm in the state of Indiana, these type of dealings. Ice Miller worked with us, helped drafting this agreement, negotiating the agreement. It is a very tight agreement. Obviously, we can't ensure that this development is going to happen. No one can. But I think this agreement provides the city and the commission the greatest protection that we could legally to ensure that we don't lose control of the property, and that what is being proposed is built in a timely manner. But again, I would stress the only issue before the council is whether or not highway commercial delivery use for the property.
I know that traffic concerns are a real issue, but I can't see turning businesses away from a developer because of traffic concerns. When you look at a place like St. Matthews, if you want to go to St. Matthews Mall, you get off the interstate, it takes you a minute to get there. There's a lot of cars, you have to cut over a few lanes, but, that's an issue that we can deal with later on. Maybe we don't open up Indiana Avenue. Maybe there's a, maybe you have to go down 10th Street and cut west to get to it. That's something we can talk about later. This is a zoning issue, and I think that I can't imagine that anybody wouldn't want businesses to go there. Maybe if we have traffic issues because so many people want to go to these restaurants, and I said, great, perfect.
Absolutely.
Let's deal with the traffic issues.
Mr. President, if I may. Jorge Lanz, Jacoby Tunes and Lanz for the record. As part of the work that redevelopment's doing in the upgrading of 9th Street and Indiana Avenue, we've hired a traffic engineer that's doing an overall analysis to determine exactly the number of lanes. The focal point for this whole development, no matter whether it's this development or any other development that happens there, is going to be the intersection of 9th and Spring Street, right there across from Mr. Stopinol's office. So there's going to be a signalized, a modern, period-like signalized intersection at that location. We're in the process of crunching the numbers to make sure that we put the appropriate turn lanes, the appropriate signal timing systems, etc. Not only that on Indiana, but also the block of road on Spring Street between 10th and 9th Street. That's also going to be repaved, restriped, to be able to get people in and out of this. So, all those things are being looked at. I just wanted to say that.
So there is a traffic study being done in relation to all this?
Zach, I do disagree with you a little
Studies.
bit. There are some areas that I think people avoid because there are so much traffic. And the last thing we want to do is have our main thoroughfare into our city congested.
And that's another thing, this is a gateway into our city, so our gateway into the city is, think about what you want people to think about when they come into the city. The other thing I was thinking about as far as, traffic, there's railroad tracks there, aren't they? Are they still used from time to time?
From time to time, and that is part of the consideration in the design of the intersection.
But it still crosses the road.
Right, when
Correct.
the train's going to cross the road, then if the train crosses the road, which is like a train a week, it's very minimal. then all lights turn red, let the train get by, and then you can get out. I mean, this is done everywhere, not just here.
I think when I think about the gateway to the city, I want to think of activity. And I don't think about what's currently at the gateway of our city that's been there for however many years, sitting vacant.
I know that the recommendation, I was looking at the recommendation, and the recommendation was 4-3. So I guess the 3 against was the council representatives.
Yeah, it's all three of us.
Well, I'm gonna stay with the council representatives on this, so.
Mr. Lewis? We talked a little bit about the traffic study. Can traffic be used to turn down a rezoning? We've had this conversation.
Yes, I mean, as they pointed out earlier, there are 5 statutory considerations for rezoning, and that 5th statutory consideration is responsible development and growth. And there is an Indiana Supreme Court decision where a town council, city council did deny a rezoning request because they were concerned with traffic congestion issues and the lack of the road development area, or the lack of the roads in that area. So, and then that was litigated, went to the Indiana Supreme Court, and the Indiana Supreme Court said that traffic congestion, the quality of the roads and so forth, was a factor that they could use to determine under the reasonable, responsible development.
And as you can imagine, 2 attorneys in the same room, I would disagree as it relates to the application of that Supreme Court case. I think 2 other items that I think have to be taken into consideration by this council is, one, is the fact that this is a written agreement with the city through its redevelopment department. Statutorily, the redevelopment department in entering into this contract under 36-714-22.5 has to take into consideration the issue that was just dealt with, and that is responsible development and growth. Under the terms of that statutory scheme under the Redevelopment Commission, it specifically indicates that it controls the use of that property, that it can enter into contracts to carry out part or all of those functions, and in disposing of that real estate by that statutory scheme, it must group together properties for disposition in a manner that best serves the community from the standpoint of both human and economic welfare, as well as group together nearby or similar properties to facilitate the convenient disposition. That portion is permissive, but under the terms of the statute that mandates the actions of the Redevelopment Commission, 36-714-11 specifically addresses that. And it mandates that the commission shall promote the use of the land in the manner that best serves the interest of the unit and its inhabitants. Now, it mandates that before it enters into this agreement. So under the term statutorily, 36-714-11 indicates that it is to enter into those agreements to replan and dispose of areas needing redevelopment in the manner that best serves the social and economic interest of the unit and its inhabitants. The unit in this instance being the city of Jeffersonville, and of course the inhabitants, again, pretty simple to determine. The statutes have to work hand in hand. So if you've got one arm of the city government that's saying this is the right use and it's mandated to enter into a contract for that purpose, it's very difficult then to look at it from the city council's positioning and saying that's not responsible development and growth when you have a redevelopment commission that is mandated to enter into contracts for that purpose. So I think you have to look at the written agreement that it entered into. It is through an RFP that the redevelopment commission chose this developer to develop in this fashion. But keep in mind this evening is a land use request to rezone. It is not to approve the plan, because that comes back to the plan commission through a development plan. And I think that's an important piece that has to be considered, that whatever happens here, under your ordinance, you can't have a mixed use zoning as you do now. There are currently 5 different zones of this property, and it can't be developed in that fashion. The only way it can be developed is in a fashion that allows for its development. because you have a mix of residential, you have a mix of two different commercials, you have also a mix of even the old city residential, and then likewise, I believe there's one small tract that is industrial as well. So you can't take without the rezoning and develop this property. So I think it has to be looked at what the statutes consider in the redevelopment commission entering into this agreement, making those determinations first in selecting this agreement and in selecting the developer.
Call the question.
Do we not even have a choice then?
I mean, I still stand by that. I think in the
Okay.
Supreme Court case, that you can't take one example of traffic congestion of roads as part of responsible growth. I think the case is very clear.
It's not,
Roll call.
well,
Call the question.
yeah.
What's that?
Roll call vote, please.
Pull your roll call.
Somebody, we need a
Roll call. There was a motion.
Oh, there was a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, in a second. Do a roll call vote, please.
Councilperson Smith.
No.
Councilperson Zastavny.
No.
Councilperson Payne.
Yes.
Councilperson Sellers.
No.
Council Vice President Gill.
No.
Council President Julius.
No.
Councilperson Owen.
Yes.
Councilperson Samuel.
No.
6 noes, 2 yeses. It fails.
Thank you.
And I'm going to send this around for you all to sign.
So we
Les?
turned that development down for traffic before they did the traffic study.
Maybe they should have done that before.
Okay. Just to clarify.
Yeah.
For the record,
Who are,
I'm Steve Reach, I'm the principal of White Reach Development and the developer that we did go with Holiday Inn because they have a negative rooms. They lost 1,300 rooms in the Little Metro market, and there's a big demand for that brand of rooms. We could have went with the 2 hotels and averaged probably $119 a room. Our hotel reports said that there needs to be 250 rooms, which was equal to what we had. The average room rate would have been $158 a night. $158 a night. If we'd run 70%, that would have brought in, the hotel would have brought in about $10 million worth of revenue a year. And our recent study, impact study, is $7 per dollar spent at a hotel goes back into the community. So that would have been $70 more million to Jeffersonville. And the retail around with millennials are the growth now. Retail around hotels do 35 to 40% more when the hotel component within the development. And that we do own a Holiday Inn. We bought the Holiday Inn rights for Southern Indiana. So to keep it, because if we didn't buy it,
thank you.
go across the street.
That's
Thanks, Mr. Reach.
unimportant.
Les, we've got an ordinance changing zoning map designation of a...
Yeah, this is a rezoning. Really, this is a property that had been zoned a PUD to a residential PUD many years ago. It lay dormant due to the economy. It was originally developed by Charlie Reisert, who passed away. His son Perry is here, and I believe they're trying to resolve some state issues, and this is one of the issues, is this property and this development, and Perry is here to speak on this. It received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission. Basically, we're asking that it be rezoned from R1 to a residential PUD, which is what it was prior to losing that classification for no development.
Thank you. Appreciate your time and consideration, and we're asking for approval of the plan that was brought forth about 6 years ago for 6 duplex-style buildings, 12 units on 2.2 acres, and it requires rezoning in order to do that, and there's no change to what had been proposed before. Pretty straightforward. Any
I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Harry, can you just tell us where it is, or have the address, but
It's Charlestown Pike at Morgan Trail. It's a corner property.
which one, where's Morgan Trail at?
Landsberg Cove subdivision, it's one of the roads that comes into Landsberg Cove.
Thank you.
So there's, on that section of Charlestown Pike, there's a few other duplex developments that have been done in recent years. This would be somewhat similar, but some of those are rentals. This is laid out to be more like done as a patio home with 2 attached units, with garages in front of them and that sort of thing, one-story buildings.
During the planning and zoning, there was no concerns or controversy of any kind, and it was unanimously voted for a favorable recommendation.
Public hearing.
I do too. Do we have to open a public hearing?
Yes.
Public hearing is now open. Is anybody here to speak for or against this development? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to approve 2014 OR 33.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
I'm sending this around also.
Les, you've got another zoning change on Hamburg Pike.
This is another favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission reference to a rezoning at 5620 Hamburg Pike from C1 to Industrial 1. The applicant is Don Sandusky, and I don't know if Mr. Sandusky is here. Okay. Give me a minute here. First Source Properties is actually the petitioner.
Thanks.
And again, it's received a favorable recommendation, unanimous vote 6-0.
Is this,
What they're going to be putting on that's in my district is they want to put like RV storage. It's in the industrial park, the Sellersburg Industrial Park. In order to enter it, you will have to enter in on the Industrial Park Road and actually go behind. You will not be entering on and off of Hamburg Pike. Received a favor. It's going to be setting off the road.
You won't even be able to see it from Hamburg.
Is it fenced?
Yes.
Oh, it will be
Yes.
because it's.
is it
And it'll have
an
its own
extension?
entrance in the back.
Is it an extension of the storage space that's there now?
No,
Or is
it's
it something
a,
different?
no, this is different.
Be,
will it
be
butt
next
up?
to,
There's a company there.
next to the guy who owns the company, who's the one who's asking to expand the property to make, to use the storage space.
And does that lot butt up to the Car Circle residence, or is there a buffer there?
I think it's by his business that's already there.
Well, I just asked because you said they would enter from the back
They would
road.
enter from, well, they wouldn't go through car, they would go through industrial.
Right, I just didn't know if it butted up to Car.
And they had a sign up, and no one came in.
Well, there was the one lady who came, and she
Well,
just
she
wanted to
was
make
across the
sure,
street.
she lived across the street, and she wanted to see,
Right.
ask what she would see, would there be increased traffic, would I be able to see the structure, and no, it's way in the back, and the traffic would come through the industrial parkway, and she was happy with that, and so was the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay.
Number 34?
Motion to approve 2014 OR 34.
Do we need to have a hearing on that or not?
Oh, is there a
Oh, I
public
thought you
hearing?
did.
Yes.
We'll open a public hearing on this. Is anybody here to speak for or against this development? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Now I make my motion.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. We've got City Council Attorney report. Scott, you got anything? Okay. Clark Miles?
Also, Andy Crouch is going to be speaking.
Okay.
Just so you know.
I come to you all today, I've talked to a couple of you about, my paving, it's coming up, and with the weather and the way it's been, and possibly gonna need a little bit more money than what I had before. I was wanting to come back out here today and, talk to a couple of you, and, told me, make sure I show up tonight, and talk to, President Julius the other day. And, I think it's important that, at least I let you all know that, I received around $500,000 most time for paving for the year. And, look like, with, what we got going on now and the number of roads and the amount of money we're gonna have, that, we're gonna come up short on what I want to do. And I would like to see if I could, a possibility, after seeing my final figures and everything here come up pretty soon, that maybe, if there's a chance, that maybe we're going to get some more money to do more roads and stuff in the city, that I will appreciate that, and I'm sure the people in the city of Jeffersonville would too.
You know how much more you're gonna need?
How much more I would need, I don't know today,
Okay.
but I can, get that figured out here in the next couple of days.
What's in your
Well, just so we
budget?
can get in our budget.
I didn't hear.
500,000.
500,000, what I usually use for roads, yes.
Clark, do you have these? They have them in their packets.
They should have that, yeah.
Yeah, that Stephanie gave them?
Yeah, they should have it.
Mr. Miles, did you still want to come before we had you scheduled for the finance committee to ask?
I just asked Clark to come and kind of give us an update.
He wanted to give us, want me to come just, talk to you all about that. And also, again, with additional, my road project money as far as paving and all that stuff, I also have the Cherokee Heights project I'm trying to, put in.
Wathen Heights?
Yeah, Wathen Heights,
Wathen
that's at
Heights.
Cherokee. And also I wanted Andy,
That should not come out.
I want Andy to explain that part of it too, so.
Yeah, that, to me, that money should not come from your paving for Wathen Heights. That should, the money you have needs to be used to pave these streets. We need to find that from something else.
To get back to what I was saying, so you do want to come to find, because Stephanie said she canceled it. We had you on the agenda, and she said y'all didn't need, do you want to, that's why, so
Well-
we can let Vicki know, because it's Thursday.
Well, the thing of it is that, we canceled before, because I was just waiting to see my final figures on what I need.
Okay.
For monetary, that's why I didn't want to just waste your time when I didn't have final figures on anything.
Clark, on the one sheet that's here, landscape, it has a total price tag of $366,000.
Right, that's for the few roads I was gonna do on here.
Are those, Clark, is that above and beyond the 500,000 that you have, or is that part of the 500,000 that you have?
That's part of 500,000, yeah, that's part of 500,000, on what those roads will be.
Thank you.
And I didn't have them all on there, I didn't,
Understand.
all the roads I had, out of 20, all of them wasn't on there.
Right.
It was just some that I picked out, I was trying to scatter it around a little bit, and trying to hit some areas.
So these are the ones you're ready to, go. You've got
Right.
500 and 367.
Right,
You're ready to go on these.
Right,
Or,
yeah, I'm supposed to start Wednesday.
okay.
And I spoke to Andy today and asked him to come because I thought Wathen Heights would be on here.
Right, he needed, well, he was asked to be
Can I ask a
here.
quick question? So are you going to give me an updated
Yeah,
kind of meeting on Thursday?
yeah, for the 20 roads on here, I can get you updated, additional 20.
Because I would be curious, if we were able to find the money to do all 20, what would that cost?
I
We
can
need
get
to
those
know that
figures.
figure.
Yeah, I can get those figures, 'cause I was just going off of, what I figured up so far, and the fact that, I knew with my budget, that I wouldn't be able to do all 20.
Yep.
I come
If you
in.
did, you'd be good.
Yeah, I know it'd be real good, so, I knew that, so these were the ones I picked out and, to try to keep it within a frame of what the prices was I was given for the roads I can do. And then from there, I was gonna see, when I got everything in, I did talk to, Senator Grooms, and, he was gonna see about trying to get me a little bit more, adjust the budget a little bit. He told me, I talked to him yesterday, and, he said, I should know something this week. And that's why, that's another reason I didn't want to come just yet, because I want to make sure what I had. Because if I didn't have to come to you, I didn't want to, waste your time or anything on doing that. Yeah.
You had mentioned Wathen Heights, and I sat in the sewer board meeting the other day. Now, the sewer board, and Andy, you might help with this. but
Yes.
I think they're responsible for repaving. The milling and the 1 inch?
That's correct.
So why would we be pulling that out of?
It's not on here.
Out of,
It's not on this list.
I know, he said,
but he said it.
I said, what I said was that, they asked me if, it's- you know, I talked to Andy and a couple of them, and want to know if there's any way that I may see about, if I can come up with some additional funding for that project. And that's why I brought that up.
the paving part, Andy, or the curbs?
The street in general, the curves would be rebuilt and within 2 feet of either side of the curves
Right.
rebuilt.
But I mean, it looks like the paving is one issue and the curbs are another issue.
Yeah.
Because drainage was asked to pay for part of the curbs, not the asphalt.
That's correct.
And there was a separate bid for the curbs.
Correct.
So, I guess my question is the street department being asked to pay for part of the curbs or part of the paving for the sewer department? Does that make sense?
There is a change order presented to the sewer board at this moment for $500,000. That is to replace the curbs and some asphalt adjacent to the curbs.
Okay.
The drainage board has approved $170,000 for that, about a third. And I believe that Parks Department has been asked to come up with the rest of that. The rest of that, because it's a street, it's part of the streets. I'm not saying it should come out of his asphalt budget. I don't know what his
That's what he
department
has.
budget is. Yeah, I don't.
It should not come out of that paving.
Yeah, I don't know where it would come from in his budget.
Yeah.
Now, we
Maybe-
talk,
And obviously, I think he's looking for an additional appropriation from the council for that. So it could be a separate line item. I'm not sure how that would be set up.
but are we talking about the streets that have been cut up to install the new sewers for that area? Because I rode that area, so, I mean, I guess my question, and, you know, is, when they cut a street up, I don't understand how they cut streets up. I thought they were supposed to cut the street to put the pipe in and then mill and make for a nice finish. It looks like they took a backhoe and just started pulling streets up. I mean, what was the reasoning for that? Because that's costing a lot of money that I think was unnecessary.
I wasn't out there during the construction. I think it was constructed by Christiani, who's done a few of our other ones, and their typical method is to go down the middle of the road,
Right.
take out the pavement, cut a trench, put the sewer in, they come back and backfill that with rock, we come back and mill an inch off of all the asphalt, full width, and then come back and put a
But I mean, when,
surface on it.
I understand that, but I'm saying, why is it allowed to allow a backhoe? Evidently, some of it wasn't cut, because some of it is not neat.
It's real feathered.
It's like they'll cut, if you cut something through the asphalt and you pick it up, there's pieces pulled all over the place. Have you been up and looked at it? I mean, you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I'm not blaming the contractor, I'm just trying to figure out,
I'm just saying that the same contractor that did this one has done some of our.
Oh, I know.
This one wasn't done differently, is I guess what I'm
Okay.
trying to get to. This is a cross section down in the trench where they cut that.
Yeah.
You can see, I mean, it's a for the construction work that they're doing, it's not feathered, it's a fairly straight line. The top there is your asphalt with the subgrade underneath. There may be areas where that's broken away, chipped off, things like that.
well, it's a pretty good area.
Yeah.
I mean, usually when they did, I don't know who did Utica Pike going up, they made some very nice cuts. Unfortunately, every bit of it sunk.
Right.
So we made a nice cut, we backfilled it, okay? Then we paved it and it was great, but now it's horrible.
And they're going back to fix that.
Okay.
They committed
Is that because of compaction?
They had some compaction issues. It's a lot of sand through there. That whole area is sand.
Sandy, I knew that, but is that something that we need to probably in a sandy area like that? Maybe do we need to really look into that and make sure that we get it compacted? Is there something we need to change or to make sure that we compact it?
I think,
or not? Maybe it's not.
we've got an inspector on site the whole time. They are compacting it to our standards and industry standards. It's just, it's sandy.
Okay.
At the sewer board meeting, not this past one, but the one before, when this was first brought up, it was brought up about the road, and it was going to be like $800,000 to $900,000 to redo this one street, because they wanted to totally rip it up and redo it.
That was for all the streets.
That was for
That
the...
was for all the streets with the asphalt from the curves.
Right. And so then at this past sewer board meeting, and I spoke to Scott about this, so I want to make sure he's listening. Scott, can... So at this past sewer board meeting, we were talking about this street, and it was stated that the drainage would pay $170 for the curbs. Then the city would pay...
Curbs and gutters, that's what I thought.
Curbs and gutters, and then the city would pay, I thought, for the paving in that meeting. That's the way it came across, and that's what Scott thought as well. And then the sewer, I think their part was already included in the bill. Is that right, Dale? Like 100 and some odd?
Already a paving aspect.
Yeah. So my understanding from that meeting, and Lisa and Dennis were there with me, is we could wait for the curbing to get done, and then we could go ahead and figure out how we're going to appropriate the money, because we have to advertise and do all that stuff to get this money appropriated for this street. Well, I found out today from Andy that's not true. That the whole $500,000 is for curb and guttering. It's not for paving.
Well, but
So-
it was for approaches, wasn't it?
And the approaches.
And the approaches, but not for the street.
No, it wasn't.
And so he said that they cannot start on this project until we appropriate, find that money. So that's something that we need to look at more sooner than later.
That's correct.
And today we were talking, they said they might be able to do something maybe a little bit less expensive, maybe,
Talk to the contractor as
and
possible.
see.
But we've met with him a number of times, and we feel like we have a good plan, but yes, it's $500,000.
Yeah.
That's the 170.
So,
So it's 300.
you
So
know what
you're
our part is?
330? Is that what you're asking?
330.
I just have a question, because I wasn't a part of that meeting. From, I guess, my perspective, I think I understood that part of the issue with that is the way it was originally constructed, the sand under it, and it's just, they need to replace a good part of the road. When we do it here, or as we try to fix this, how do we prevent ourselves from, how do we put a hedge out there? Because I would assume every road in that whole section of the city is exactly, probably the same builder did it, or the same contractor did it. So the next time we go and we have to dig up a pipe, are we going to have to replace that whole street? And if we do it for this, and how do we tell them no without them screaming and going, ringing our phones off the hook? How do we resolve that, I guess, or can we resolve? Because I was thinking we would, but I haven't even been on site, so I preempted my statements with all that. But typically, you cut it, and you just patch back what you cut. And it sounds like we cut it, we cut it and we took up more, and we're going to replace the street. And maybe I don't have it right, Andy, but...
We're not replacing the street.
No, okay.
The issue that we have is that, color's really bad on this, apologize. What you're seeing on the left is the curb and gutter, and on the right is asphalt. You can see that the asphalt is rolled up into the curb and gutter. That's 3 or 4 inches, and that's, on average, that's what it is through this whole area.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but what they said at the sewer meeting was, the county kept paving.
They did.
They paved all the way over to the edge of the gutter, into the gutter.
Underneath, you've got, I don't know, 4, maybe 5 inches of asphalt right there, and everything underneath that is sand.
Okay.
Typically, we would want to see around 10 inches of good rock. It's not here. Okay.
So when we replace this, are we replacing it to our standards or not?
No, because that would be dangerous.
With this, the option that Ms. Sellers was speaking of earlier, that was $800,000 to $900,000, was completely rebuilding the road.
Okay, to our standards?
To our standards.
Okay.
This is not the option that's being presented at this point.
Okay.
You've got a standard curb and gutter. I think everybody knows what I'm looking at, what they're looking at there. Okay. What we have right now is that with that roll curb and gutter, you've got the red line on the right at your top of the pavement. Can't really tell it's red. and then you've got your driveway coming off the back of that. And you can see that the asphalt has moved up into the gutter line, okay? So what we're looking at doing,
Andy, is that because they didn't pay, they didn't want to mill?
they didn't mill.
No, they didn't.
So they just kept, so the extra asphalt that they're spending, the tonnage was a waste of money.
It was filling up the, yeah. So what we're looking at doing is coming in with a shorter curb, okay? So whereas this has a taller curb, we're looking at coming in with a shorter curb. And when we do that, I'm going to lay these on top of each other, and you can see where that top of pavement line is. We're going to bring that new curb and gutter right up to meet the top of the driveway and the top of the pavement. That way, we don't have any issues behind the back of the curb or in front of the curb. The sewer department still has in their contract to mill about 1 inch to 1.5 inches off the current road and come back in with 1 inch to 1.5 inches on top of that. So we'll be right back at this elevation right here, and we're just going to meet this right back here. So we're going to come back in and rebuild the curb and gutter basically about 3 inches higher.
So, as I look at that, then there's not really going to be much gutter.
So, yeah, you'll have the same amount of gutter line. There won't be as much curb off.
You're not really gaining any capacity, if that's what you're asking,
Yeah,
from where we are
going-
today.
You're going from
Yes.
6 inches, this is about a 6 inch, this one right here, the taller one, is about 6 inches. We're going to a 3 inch, which is what most developers are building now.
But probably 3 inches of the 6 is filled with asphalt.
That's correct.
So you're not gaining any capacity.
Yes, I'm with you.
What streets are these?
You need to ride up there and look at it, because it's,
What streets are these? You talk, we doing?
I don't have.
I was up there today and Bennett, Pawnee, Cherokee.
You get all.
Any
more questions you want me to ask?
No, I showed a couple of people this one earlier. This is the final one. You can. Right. You can see that this is the back of curb here and that the asphalt has filled into the gutter line. You can see a crack forming right through here, right where the edge is. Eventually, we're going to lose that.
Right. And that's what the gentleman at the sewer board from the subdivision was complaining about, wasn't the street. He said, "These roads have been like this for 65 years. That was his quote. But he said that it's cracking at the gutter side, and he said when our street department comes down to sweep, then that pavement, loose pavement and stuff gets sucked up, and he's afraid it's going to destroy that. Plus it's...
I have the same cracks in my neighborhood. Got a lot of cracks in them. I won't ever get anything done, that's for sure.
Well, I guess what we're asking here is, are we going to try and appropriate money to do this?
And I've asked Andy to look at, somebody mentioned today that they might be able to mill down just at the gutter, that they need to talk to the contractor, which might bring the cost down a little bit more.
And
then
not
just
replace
pave
the
and
gutter.
not yeah.
This kind of goes back to an earlier comment Ed made about priorities. You know, we're going to have to spend money. What are we going to spend it on? Well, Clark and Andy are saying spend it on what streets? Bennett, Pawnee, Cherokee, Walden Heights. I mean, a piece of it. So yeah.
Big piece.
Yeah, let me say that,
Big piece.
and when I get with the paving people, and I get my estimates on these other streets, I will get it back to you all. And also that, I would thank you all for giving me the opportunity to come and talk about it, but I understand the budget situation, I understand what I have, and what I was trying to do is, although roads are way worse with the weather we had, and we do have problems throughout the city, is I was just trying to pick different areas of the city, trying to balance out as much as I could using the money which we have.
Right.
And, yes,
Andy,
ma'am.
you understand what I'm trying to say too, is if he has $500,000 for paving, and then he gives you part of that, and then we have to go ahead and appropriate more money for him, it makes no sense. We just need to appropriate money for this project and let him keep his money and figure out how to go from there.
Andy, how feasible is it that they're going to mill this down and save quite a bit of money?
Just mill the edges?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, we don't, he's,
I don't know, I mean.
I don't know how feasible that is.
This is I think the third scenario that we worked through, trying to get the price down with the contractor. It's,
Andy, or Clark, either one.
Yes, sir.
I know I had a discussion, Andy, and I don't remember if we was talking about Spring Street or some different projects. Remember we talked about 14th Street and doing some work on it, and we was wanting to put in some crosswalks or something to try to get people back and forth.
right.
And 14th Street is a it's a heavy-driven street because of all the dump trucks that come out of the quarry, hits 14th to go 65 or wherever they go. But in this plan, it doesn't have 14th Street, but we had talked about getting some crosswalks in there too, didn't we?
We did.
To try to put something together?
I presented a plan on that back in March with this sidewalk, pedestrian plan.
Okay.
If you don't have that, I can get it to you.
And did we ever get anything completed on Spring Street on how we want to repair the sidewalks and the tripping hazards and a lot of that stuff? We talked about that and found some stuff around. Has that not, no, nothing?
Nothing final on that.
Okay.
But I had, like I said, I had these 20 streets I was wanting to try to do, and like I said, again, I get y'all what we have on the, on doing those streets and the figures and everything, but, like I say, I don't, y'all's budget, I know what I got in my budget, and I just had to go from there and see what I can work out best for what we can in the city. And, I try to pick around the city a little bit and catch different spots, try to balance some paving out, and, but we got some roads that's in real serious condition, so,
I tell you, in front of Jeff High's is awful.
yeah.
So you're gonna come back to Finance Committee, or is he come back here?
He's on the
Finance,
agenda for
okay.
Thursday.
And break it down road by road so we can see what the total is, and then we can see what we can do.
Yeah, I called my contractor this morning, and I try to get me back some figures as soon as they can on, and we just go from there.
So Andy, do we need to take action on this 330 for Waltham Heights?
well, because it's going to have to be advertised, so
understand.
we at least need to,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Since this is on a fast track, do we,
I think we should go ahead and try to find the money and advertise
The
for it.
project's sitting incomplete until we can have some resolution, whether it's yes or no, or
What project?
Waltham Heights?
Nice.
Project.
The three. Late, Mike.
I know, but I still don't, Watson Heights, I drove it, I still don't understand the asphalt. I don't understand the quality of work.
that'll all be fixed.
Yeah,
That'll all
that's
get fixed.
Okay, you said it was at a standstill.
because they don't have the money.
To do the curve.
Right.
No, wait a minute, we
Whoa,
either,
whoa, whoa, we have the money, the sewer board has the money
okay,
right now. They
Okay.
can go out, mill full width, all the asphalt, curb to curb, in the gutter.
and take
Take
that
an inch
out.
off,
Okay.
and put an inch down. It'd look brand new,
Okay,
except that the gutters will be full of asphalt.
Yeah.
but I don't understand, okay, well, why would we do that?
What would we do?
Why, when you're going to mill it down, why wouldn't you mill it down and curb, and pave to the curb? Why would you asphalt the curb again? That's what you just said, you're going to put,
Because there's 3 to 4 inches of asphalt built up over the curb. So if we take, there's only about 4 or 5 inches of asphalt total on the whole project. If we take all that asphalt down, we're left with nothing but sand. There's no base underneath it.
what a mess.
We're inheriting some things from the county that we're having to fix.
I mean, I understand that.
Hey, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Clark.
Thank you.
Thanks, Clark.
We'll find something.
So do we need to instruct Amy to?
We have 500,000 in ed now, if that's a time crunch, could we use it toward the walk and figure out these other things?
No, she said you
Also,
didn't want
Don't we,
400,000 in this LRS.
stop the general fund, we've got $5 million in there. I say take it out of the general fund.
Yeah, I think, I
Just take it
agree.
out of the general fund.
That's where you already got that appropriation, you know, that ordinance. We were just talking, she can re-advertise it, isn't that correct? And add that onto, so then you could pass it on the third reading.
Okay. Just from the general fund.
You need to wait.
We need to take a vote on that. Wait, do we need to take a vote on that? I mean, no?
I wouldn't
To
think so.
advertise and just wait, then when it comes back, vote on it.
Yeah.
That's not an approval, that's just.
Right, to
Movement
advertise.
to advertise.
Well, I think if you want to use that, you talking about ordinance 30 that we did earlier?
Yeah.
I think if you want to add it, you have to do a
Make a
motion now
motion.
to amend the 2014 OR 30 to include this.
Okay, I make that motion.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Got that. Let's see, where are we? Did we have any public comment?
Scott, is there any public comment?
30.
All right. Mr. Smith, council comments.
I have a couple things. Vicki, could you research for me, please, or have Candy? Whoever you pass the buck to.
No, I'll do it.
I think most of you know that we're getting a lot of bike traffic, and if you look at the bicycles locked up on our things, I mean, that's exciting, but trying to find, do we have a bicycle ordinance currently in the city that talks about bikes can be rode on sidewalks, they can't be, is there age limits? Could you just do some research and see what we
It
have?
needs to be updated.
Yeah, we
Well-
have something, but I'll look tomorrow and get it to you.
Well, it would, yeah, well, I don't need it immediately, but I would like to see what we have, because our bicycle traffic has changed, and like
Yeah.
Ms. Sellers says, it needs to be updated. I'm not even sure what it says, but if you could research that.
Sure.
Do you guys, would you be interested in talking about the annexation, to have an attorney come here and talk about the lawsuit, or not? Is that even, when we, okay.
To do the findings?
Yeah, or whatever. If you don't, that's fine. I just,
Update the people
well, some of the council wasn't on. I wasn't on during the,
No.
I was on at the end. I was on at the end, but if you would like kind of a condensed version of the process, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's whatever the consensus is.
Sure.
I'm fine.
I mean,
Just to get an overview of how the process
I don't know.
went.
There's nothing was decided, though.
But I'm saying, it seemed like we talked about, did we hire the per capita? Did we hire, I don't know how they
Let's do it,
decided.
but it wasn't, nothing was decided.
That wasn't part of the lawsuit, that was part of your fiscal plan. The lawsuit never made it in front of a judge, it was thrown out because
A technicality, I get that,
the
yeah.
petitioners did
Yeah.
not file.
Right, I get that. I remember.
There was no findings in the court.
Right, I get that.
It
Okay.
missed the statute of limitations on.
Well, I was just, if there's some questions or answers, you know, because,
It may be a good idea maybe to have someone present on the fiscal plan that was adopted, what your obligations are.
okay.
Greg Pfeiffer.
Okay.
The fiscal plan was not the attorneys, it was the
Okay, well, if you all's not interested, that's fine. There's a lot of unanswered questions. One thing too, and we did pass it tonight, but Charlestown Pike, just keep in mind that Charlestown Pike we adopted that. And several months ago is when we wrecked a fire truck on Charlestown Pike. And if you follow the turn where it turned and went straight, you can see how narrow the road is. So I know that we keep adding, I think it gets back to, we keep adding development, but at some point, I think that road's going to have to be addressed. If you rode Charlestown Pike, you can see the amount of what we're adding and the traffic and the narrow, and these fire trucks are big and heavy and wide. So I just wanted to talk about that. So that's really all I got. And the bicycle ordinance, thank you.
Yeah, just briefly, but since we bring up annexation and a fiscal plan, the plan came about because we asked department heads, we're going to take in all these additional people and all this additional land. How many more resources do you need? How many pickup trucks? How many garbage trucks? How many additional police officers? How many firefighters? That kind of thing. And we put that plan together and we put it out there. But the plan changed right away as soon as technology changes. As soon as a new department head comes and says, you know what, we don't need a pickup truck, we need another garbage truck, we need another firehouse. I mean, so when there's a change in administration and there's a change of department heads, they see a need that might be slightly different than the original plan that was developed years before. But the whole idea was that the newly annexed area would get the same amount of resources and fair treatment as the old city. So, at a high level, I just want to put it out there. Plan never follows exactly to the T. It changes with the department heads change, technology changes, mayors change, so.
I just have one brief comment. I'm very disappointed that we didn't pass the zoning change. I think the city's really missing out on that development right down there. So, that's all.
No comment.
I've been working with Clark and with Stephanie. Their ordinance as far as what they pick up and what they charge for and what they don't charge for is way out of date. So Stephanie and I just met again last week, and we came up, where we pretty much update them. The big issue is with the trees, how much they pick up. People take down trees, and so I think it'll help them and their department with all the calls that they get. So I gave that ordinance to Les, which it was too soon to bring it to this meeting, but just so you all know that he'll be working on that ordinance updating for the street department to clarify and spell some things out and some changes. Especially
dumpster rentals too?
Yeah, even the dumpster rentals, when we went back through it, the numbers on that wasn't even right. They charge more, but I know a lot of issues why I've been there is if a tree is taken down by a storm or whatever, the street department picks it up. But the issues that they are having is people are taking down trees because for whatever reason, and then they're expecting the street department to pick it up, where they're paying to have somebody take it down, and they're not taking it off-site or whatever. They're leaving it all there, and it's not cut up right or whatever. And so that ordinance is so outdated that don't even have the right gallon garbage cans. We went to the all-new garbage cans and all that, so just be expecting that hopefully the next week. And I voted against that development plan in planning and zoning for several reasons. Traffic was one of them. And unfortunately, when you say that we can address the development plans and planning and zoning, Ed and Connie can kind of back me up on this. We get railroaded through. If there's something that wants to be passed, we bring up our concerns. I know we've been trying to have meetings. I know, Nathan, you can speak on that. I know you and Ed asked to have some meetings, and there is just more issues than just the traffic, and I just want everybody to know that's why I voted against it. So.
I'm going to echo what Zach said about the development. I think it's disappointing that the city's going to miss out on $25 million of private investment. To say that, we've got too much traffic is a interesting idea. We need to do, we're talking about doing a public safety study before we decide on what we're going to do with our officers and our fire department. But then we don't give the opportunity to do a traffic study to see if that's really an issue. And to stop a rezoning because certain council members aren't in a majority on the planning commission for a development plan. That's what you just said, that, things get ran through past you all on the plan commission when it comes time for a development plan.
That's part of it, yes.
Yes.
Because when we bring it up, they said it'd be development plan.
Right.
Yeah, that's the way it should have been done.
Why would a company put in money for a traffic study when the property's not even zoned properly?
Put all this other design work in there.
Okay.
I think it's done all the time.
I think it's unfortunate that we're going to miss out on this. First, we were delaying the project because of an interceptor pipe. That was addressed, and now we're delaying for another reason. If we just don't want to have development in downtown Jeff, let's just come out and say it. There are plenty of people who want to come to Jefferson. No, the original picture that was put before us was a vision, and then an RFP was put out, and this is what came out of that RFP.
No, it's been downgraded.
Okay.
The RFP was
Okay.
2 hotels. You all voted for it if there were 2 hotels? I mean, if it was original RFP.
So if there had been 2 hotels, we would have approved the...
1 fast food restaurant versus 3 fast food restaurants. 2 sit-down restaurants where people would be there and spend money versus one restaurant.
So we agree that, highway commercial is appropriate for this spot, but because the development plan doesn't meet our expectations, we're not going to rezone it.
No, it's because of...
That's what we're talking about.
Different.
That's all I had.
a couple quick comments. Again, regarding this, early on, we met with the administration to address this everything we talked about tonight. And everybody in that meeting was in agreement. The mayor, Les, redevelopment, folks from redevelopment, and Ed and myself were in there. And we agreed at that meeting. We said, we're all in agreement? We're surprised. Let's go talk to the developer. The administration said, no, let us talk to the developer first. That was back in April. After about 2 or 3 weeks, I emailed the administration and said, oh, are we going to meet and talk? They said, well, no, not yet. A couple weeks later, I pushed them again. I said, are we going to meet? And they said, well, we did meet with the developer and told them your concerns, but, and if the developer wants to talk to you, they will. They asked us not to approach the developer, so I respected that. And until tonight, I didn't even know who the gentleman was. To me, if we had that involvement and that interest, and that was conveyed to them, and they knew they had to come to this step, surely they would have reached out and said, can we talk? What are your concerns? Let me put you at ease. They never chose to do that. And if it's not that important to them, then the issues that I heard about traffic and about it's not the original plan and concerns, okay, I have no problem with voting against that. And that's a huge frustration.
But there was a huge meeting set up with everybody to come up, and you all agreed to
talk about this with the developer.
Okay.
And that never happened.
That never happened.
Exactly. Okay, I don't want to beat that dead horse. Second thing, on June 24th, a few weeks back, I was able to attend the governor's tax conference. There was a claim in there for mileage, and I appreciate that being paid. But there's a big push now through the state to try to simplify and make our tax structure more competitive. And that's very important to cities, because part of the simplification is they wanted, I'll say, jockey around with property taxes. And a lot of discussions went into that on what other, we have over 36 different taxes in Indiana. And so they're trying to simplify that. It was a very interesting discussion, but that's coming down the pike. I'm sure you've read about that, but it was pretty, it was neat to be able to be involved with that and to listen to all the different ideas. If I hear more on that, I'll share that, or at that time, I guess. And then Andy left, but I just want to mention that I plan on trying to pull together a sidewalk plan that we can all vote on, approve on, and I'll communicate via email to everybody to say, this is the cost for this. Let's try to get consensus on how much we can throw for sidewalks, because we definitely have to improve our infrastructure, and I'm trying to figure out how do we move that ball forward, and it'll take additional appropriations, no doubt, but I'll try to have something well ahead of next meeting that everybody has seen, that you can provide feedback on, and so I just give you a heads up on that as well. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. The only thing I want to say is I've had numerous calls for the new lane changes that we've put up at Utica-Sellersburg Road and 62. And I've talked to Andy about it probably 5 times. There is an issue there. And you live out there, yeah. And it's a problem. And hopefully, and I know Andy is working on it, but we've got to address that problem. We're going to get somebody killed out there.
Is that something we're responsible for, the Board of Works, or the state, or all the above?
Well, I think there was multiple parties in it, but there's got to be, and Andy's aware of it. Oh, well, they can't, they're going in and making a U-turn and coming back around, and then where they're turning in from 62, they're falling off into the ditch. It's a problem.
The semis fall into the ditch.
Oh, it's a problem.
Multiple times a day.
It would have been done at one time.
Anyway, that's all I got.
Motion to adjourn.